Cancel them all. Deplatform, demonetize, gatekeep, get them out of here. That's what I'm seeing all over social media today. I was actually kind of shocked. I logged in and I was like, what is going on? What happened? Who set off the roach bomb in here? I tracked it back down to this video clip because I'll be honest, I've not seen this many people in my bubble all sort of aligned together over one thing in a very long time. And I mean, it was just so much of it. So many different people sharing clips and sharing experiences with the Grifto Tube, with the Scam Tube guys, with the hate content. They were sharing like so much stuff, some things I hadn't even seen before. And I've been doing this for about 1.5 years now. There's other channels have been doing it a lot longer, but hadn't seen in a while. And what these people were doing, at least the ones that I saw, most of them were trying to get YouTube to enforce its own policy on hate speech. Now, I want to be very clear here. YouTube does have a terms of service that addresses hate speech. And we're going to watch that video in just a second, because I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, it's vague, blah, blah, blah. It's not super vague. YouTube is very specific on their end on what they consider to be violations of their community guidelines or their terms of service. And a lot of people are just asking them to enforce those guidelines. Now, here's the thing. I don't think of YouTube as some innocent company that doesn't know what's going on. I shifted the way I make content a while ago because of that reason. I think YouTube is absolutely 100% complicit to all of this. I think YouTube knows what's happening. They're making money off of it, a lot more money than the positive channels. So they don't care. YouTube doesn't care. The algorithm has been this way for a while. That's why I always say, help me jump into that algorithm and dismantle it. And we're seeing effects of that. That is working. But that's not because of YouTube. It's not because YouTube is doing anything. I don't think YouTube is like Batman or Superman in this situation. We're asking them to save the day. I don't think of them that way at all. As a matter of fact, my take on all of this is probably going to be very different from most of the people in my space. I think there might be some people who are like, what? I'm telling you, stay to the end of this video when you're going to hear my full opinion on all of this. But again, YouTube is complicit in this because they make so much money off of it. The reason why these guys do what they do is because they're having money thrown at them. It takes a lot of money to publicly make yourself an asshole. To get on camera and be an asshole 24/7, 3 to 5 videos a day, Monday through Friday, live streams where all you do is shit on people, constantly shit on people. Money makes that happen. They're willing to leave all of their morals and ethics at the door to make money. Anyway, let's watch this video together. And we're going to watch that YouTube video after this. And please stick around. I think you're going to want to hear my take on this because it's going to be very different from most people in my space. I can promise you on that.
An alarming number of users are exploiting their platforms to spread hate.
Leslie Jones was subjected to incredibly vicious attacks on Twitter.
I don't say anything I don't believe, but of course I do say things in a way that is going to elicit a response from people.
Sparking outrage, spraying vitriol at many, and helping to legitimize a movement of negativity growing on the internet.
I think it's very important there that he was saying like, oh, I'm not saying anything that I don't believe, but I'm saying it in a way that will get people to engage. That's another interesting perspective, because one of the things that people always ask me is, Eric, do you believe that these guys that are doing grifting stuff, this engagement, this outrage content, if they believe the stuff that they're saying? And I've said before, for me, at least in the present, I don't think it matters if they believe it or not, because the end result is the same. And you're not going to get them to stop, because if they do believe it, they're doing it because they honestly believe that what they're saying is true and real. And if they don't believe it, but they're still doing it, then they're doing it for money. And as long as the money keeps coming in, they will keep saying it. So there is no way to really prevent that from happening. Like, you can't stop, you can't jump in and like pull some morality card on people that are doing that, because they've already checked that at the door. That's already been, they've already left that at the coat check. So what it is it's the way the algorithm is set up on all these platforms and the way things spread. And there needs to be some sort of overhaul of all of that, honestly. And this is why a lot of advertisers pull away from platforms and sort of force them to change their algorithm, because they don't want to be advertising next to hate content. Let's move on.
There has been a rampage of vitriol that we have faced since the show was even announced, when it was still just a concept and no one.
Yeah, I said this in my video about this particular subject, was that this kind of stuff was happening, like the announcement of the show, immediate hate. No way you can judge the quality of anything that early. But that's when it started.
Not even seen it.
This is what the Acolyte exists for. It's not here for story. It's not here to build the lore. For crying out loud, look at the cast right here. This cast was made for having as little white males as possible in this cast.
So the connection is there for him is that if there are no white people in the cast, then the quality of the show is not going to be good. That's the argument that's being made. It's not there to provide quality content. It is there to remove white men from media. That's a very, very dangerous thing to instill in your viewers. And they repeat it a lot. So it's one of those things where you just keep hearing it and hearing it and hearing it over and over and over again.
You know, Lucasfilm, you know, the retarded Avengers assemble over there, backing each other up.
Racist do stick together.
He accused Jones of playing the victim.
Actress Amanda Stenberg playing the victim card.
They can do nothing other than play the victim.
Amanda Stenberg, the adult pretender.
Pathological, sociopathic, feminist liars in popular culture.
Almost like she's fucking lying through her teeth. And it would be one thing if we actually saw some evidence of this, right? If we actually saw some of this shit she's talking about. But no, this is just gaslighting.
It's not gaslighting. And this is the thing. This is why what they're doing is lying. And this, again, goes into like the YouTube guidelines in terms of service. And if you have an issue with that, you take it up with YouTube. Because when we watch the video on what they consider to be hate speech and violations, you're going to be very shocked at how low that barrier is, where that line starts at, and what these channels have been doing for a long time. Again, my take on this is going to surprise you, but we'll get there.
These are terrible, talentless people that we are instructed that we must like unless... Then the sort of subtext is, you know, if you don't like them, you're some kind of bigot somehow.
Terrible performance, her attitude, driving away fans, or anything like that. No, it's everyone else's fault, and they're racist, and they just hate me because I'm black. It's all, like... She's so vapid and narcissistic.
It is the most, like, kind of narcissistic, lack of self-awareness.
And she's still bitching about oppressors. You've never been oppressed in your goddamn life, you bitch.
Look at that. I got a Derek Chauvin George Floyd memorial.
But
for everything they say, like in terms of like, oh, this is not happening, in the next breath, they commit the act that they're saying isn't happening. She's not being talked shit about. She's playing a victim as they're talking shit about her. It's wild. It is wild that people engage in this content and don't even realize that they're in this cycle. I do believe there's some people who are just caught up in it. I still believe that, because now that I've seen people shift and get away from this kind of content, they understand how detrimental this is to your mental health. There are some people that are going to need a lot more help getting out of this, because it's not going to happen on their own.
Also, every single different race of people has been enslaved and discriminated against and oppressed in some way throughout our entire history. The only people that can't get over it seems to be black people.
Wow. Wow. It's almost like you don't even understand how little time has passed since black people in the United States were treated like human beings. And we're still dealing with it right now. You guys are engaging in it right now. You are treating marginalized communities as people, as not even human beings. And you don't understand why they have an issue with that. So it's either some sort of like white supremacist thing, or it's complete cognitive dissonance.
I am not a racist, though I'm frequently told that I am one. But I am in favor of oppressing whatever the fuck this is, because...
Okay, so this was the video that I saw going around, and those are just small bits of the kind of stuff that comes out of these channels. I am not a fan of any of these channels. I never have been. I know people that I have talked with on podcast who used to watch this stuff. They don't watch it anymore. We've had people on my show here that have talked about it. I've been on shows with people that talk about it. There's a complete difference. And I know I'm saying this to people that just aren't going to get it. There's a complete difference from criticizing media because the media is bad and explaining why logically a movie or a TV show doesn't appeal to you. That isn't some sort of like racist, homophobic, sexist, misogynistic thing. There are ways to do that. That's not what these channels do. Maybe at one point it was. It is not like that anymore. It's not. I've seen it happen. I know what these channels do. You can continue to support it and stand on the front lines for it, but it's literally, it is the shit that everybody says it is. It is. And YouTube's complicit to it. Let's watch YouTube's video on what they consider violations of their community guidelines. Because at the end of the day, that's what people are asking for YouTube to do, is to enforce their own policies. This is YouTube's official video explaining what is hate speech from their point of view and how it violates community guidelines. Keep this in mind as we're going through this. Like, keep in mind all of the channels that we've been talking about and the kind of content they make, the kind of thumbnails they put out, the kind of titles they use. Keep that in mind as we go through this video, because I'm telling you, it's going to be very obvious that YouTube has been turning a blind eye to a lot of these channels.
True or false? If you make a video that compares people to animals or bugs because of their race or nationality, that could result in a strike on your channel.
What do you think the answer to that is? Would that result in a strike on your channel? According to YouTube, would that result in a strike? Let's see what it says.
The answer is true.
True. How many times did those channels cross that guideline? I can tell you right now, a lot. They have. A lot of the times. So, all right, let's continue.
Hate speech is not allowed on YouTube. We remove content promoting violence or hatred against members of protected groups.
You do not. You do not do that, YouTube. You literally ignore it and do not do this. This does not happen. Like, this whole thing about removing this content, that's not true.
Including but not limited to race, gender, sexual orientation, or religious affiliation. We may allow content that includes hate speech, like news coverage of world events, if the primary purpose is educational, documentary, scientific, or artistic in nature.
None of that counts towards any of the other commentary channels. And they would probably argue that it's like something in that space for educational purposes, but it's not. It's just literally not.
But this is not a free pass to promote hate speech, and it's important that the purpose of the video is not to directly encourage violence or promote hatred against individuals or groups.
Wow. Like, YouTube does not enforce this. They don't. And if you have an issue with this, you can take it up with YouTube, but this is their policies. These are their guidelines.
Let's take a look at a few examples. A creator uploads a video using slurs to describe members of a religious group and goes on to say the world would be better off without these people.
Think about that. Apply that to any marginalized community that these channels have talked about. How many times have they said that this stuff should not exist? It shouldn't be on this planet. That trans people shouldn't exist. That gay people shouldn't exist. Like, they do it probably once a week at this point. YouTube doesn't enforce it.
In another video, a documentary features interviews with people from two different religious groups, during which the interviewees use derogatory words. Do either of these videos violate our community guidelines?
Yes. Obviously the first one.
Yes. The first video violates our hate content policy. YouTube does not allow use of slurs with the intent to attack, dehumanize, or degrade members of protected groups.
That's really funny because there are a lot of streams that I go to from these guys where they actually do use slurs over and over and over again. And you guys don't do anything about it. It's right here in your guidelines that you do not allow that kind of stuff. Yet you don't do anything about it. Let's continue.
But what about a documentary that shows people promoting hate speech? Would that be okay? To learn that and more about our policies around hate content, go to the YouTube Help Center article linked here, or use the link in the description. Thanks for watching.
So that is a basic description of their guidelines on hate speech. There is more, like there's more detail in there, but I'm telling you right now, all of it points towards a lot of these guys violating YouTube's terms of service community guidelines. Now here's my take on all of this. Could be a hot take. I don't know. We'll see where this goes. I don't think YouTube is going to do anything. I just don't see YouTube doing anything. I know that there's a big movement right now on social media for this. People are telling YouTube, oh, I've reported this content before. I've done this, that, and the other. YouTube is 100% complicit to all of it. They're not innocent in this. They're not going to be Superman or Batman or these people coming in to save the day to stop hate speech from occurring on their platform. They're not going to do it. I will be very shocked if even one of the channels that got mentioned in any of these comments sees any sort of like issue from YouTube. YouTube just doesn't care. They just don't. So it doesn't matter how I feel about any of that because YouTube is not going to do anything. If they do, I honestly will be very, very shocked. This is why I shifted the focus on my channel the way I did into trying to get into the algorithm, trying to throw it off, because YouTube would have to legitimately go in and change the algorithm in order for this stuff to stop going into recommended, for these channels to stop rising to the top. I've tried my best, and I've seen results from this. I've seen it sort of break up a little bit, dismantle a little bit. I'm seeing it. I'm just one channel though. So in my opinion, I hate to say this, I don't think this movement is going to do anything. I would like to be wrong that I think YouTube would sort of review their policies and see if they're enforcing it or if they're not, or if it's even worth having this stuff there. What's the point of having it there if you're not going to do anything? And if anybody has a problem with YouTube's policies, you can take it up with YouTube. There are a lot of people, and not just in the grift space, not just the channels that were mentioned here. There's a lot of people that violate these guidelines. There's a lot of them. The only thing YouTube swoops in and takes out immediately is stuff involving kids. And that's only because they're trying to cover their asses because of the adpocalypse that happened, because they were not, the YouTube Kids app wasn't working properly or whatever, and they had to like go in and remove stuff. So they're very quick and swift to do stuff about that. But all the other stuff, they sort of just don't even care. They don't think about it. They don't do anything about it. So I'm not even sure why this exists, to be honest. Just get rid of it. If you're not going to enforce it, just get rid of it. And I think a lot of these guys that are out here going after these channels are just asking YouTube to review the channels and see if it actually violates their terms of service. Because people are fed up. People are tired of seeing it. They're tired of hearing about it. They're tired of these guys hating every single thing that doesn't lift up white men. They're just tired of it. I think the Acolyte getting canceled was a big reason why people are just fed up. So let me know how you feel about all of this. Do you think YouTube is going to do anything? Do you think they're going to enforce their terms of service? Do you actually think that's going to happen? You might be more optimistic than me. I'm not very optimistic about it. I truly believe that YouTube is just going to ignore this based on the responses they've been giving to people. Do you think these guys should be deplatformed, demonetized? You think it should be gone completely? Should they move over to Rumble and Kick? Like, just let me know what you think about all of this, you know, in the comments below. Maybe I'm being super negative about it. I would like to think YouTube gave a shit at one point and maybe they don't anymore. But I absolutely feel like they've given up and they're just happy to take revenue from those guys.